Colder than Barcelona. It's raining and dark, but hey, it's Monday morning and it's time for our wake up breathwork call. Welcome if you're joining on Instagram, YouTube and Facebook. Let's start off with some movement to create that space for the breath, and then we'll spend about 10 minutes in the morning. So find a comfortable standing position. So you've got plenty of space around you. Make sure you've got space to the sides, make sure you've got space forwards and backwards as well. Let's have a little bit of a shake out. Sally's already doing the knocking. Let's do some knocking then. We'll start off with what Sally wants to do. Knocking. Let's do a little bit of knocking, then we'll do a little bit of shaking. Breathing easy in and out through the nose. Just working on easing into the movement, not forcing anything, not overstraining, not overreaching. And remember that we're tapping, letting the elbows bend and tapping on the back. So you see there I'm tapping on my lower back, back of the hand just tapping on the lower back and tapping across the belly. In Qigong, knocking on the door of life. Getting the blood flow, getting the lymphatic drainage. Also warming us up. And then bringing the arm that swings across the front of the body into a light fist, tapping on that long point just on the pecs, top of the lungs. Let's do a couple of cleansing and clearing breaths here. And what we mean by that is taking a fuller breath in through the nose, very calmly. Nice. Contract. Oh, I think it's still going now. It's still going on. Oh yeah, we're going. We're back up and running. Sorry, we had a little bit of an internet cut out there, a little bit of Wi-Fi dropping down. It's the beautiful weather we've got here in London. We're doing spinal cord now. So we're breathing in as we expand, and then we tuck in the pelvis underneath, breathing out. Really work from the center, work from the pelvis. As the pelvis tips, we're breathing in, and then we're breathing out as we tuck underneath. And slow and steady, not forcing as always, not pushing. Let's do two more. And then take a rest. Have a little bit of a shake out. Shake your legs, have a little move around if you need to move around a little bit. Let's do some lateral flexion of the spine. So just taking it really easy with this one as well, not forcing, but we're going to do hand above the head, and we've got the hand about 2 inches above the crown, and we're just going to reach up, so we lengthen the spine up first. here. So lengthening the spine up and then just very gently resting the hand on top of the head and very gently taking your ear towards the shoulder. So you want to get just an encouragement of lengthening here down the side. I'm not forcing this, I'm not pulling my head to the side. So I really don't want you to overreach with this or overstretch. So you're just encouraging a little bit of length of the muscle there. So we're breathing easy. Then we're going to take the opposite rib cage, or the opposite side of the rib cage, and just very gently shunt that across. And we should still be able to breathe easy. We shouldn't be holding the breath, just breathing easy. And then as we're breathing, we're going to glance into the opposite corner, so up and across, making sure you don't change the angle of the head. So we get that nice work through the eyes, or through the fascia, through the eyes, just gently glancing into the opposite corner. And just holding that position, but not holding the breath. We're just breathing soft and light in and out through the nose. Few more breaths. And then bringing our head back to balance on top of the spine. Giving your arms a little bit of a rest, a little bit of a shake out, and then we'll do the opposite side. So 2 inches higher first. So we lengthen up first. Remember, it's really important to lengthen first. Then hand lands on top of the crown. We gently take ear to shoulder. And once you're comfortable in that position, rib cage, like a little slide across of the rib cage, not forcing, breathing, and then you're glancing opposite corner again. Breathing. Just following a couple more breaths. And then very slowly bringing your head back to balance on top of the spine. And that leads us very nicely to one of our favorite moves, dog wags the tail, gliding the hips side to side. Imagine you've got a spirit level on your pelvis, on your hips. So you can't tilt the hips, otherwise the spirit level's going all over the place. Spirit level there. You'll see the spine is following the hips, and then I'm going to take the pin out and release the spine. So you get that nice wave through the spine. Remember, we're just moving from here and then just letting that spine wave on top. I'm not trying to move in any particular way. And just think of it as if the hips go to, or the pelvis goes to the right, the left ear goes to the left shoulder. But again, I'm really emphasizing, don't try to put your left ear to the left shoulder. It's just a consequence of the movement. Breathing easy. And and slow it down. Another good one for your eyes and for your focus and the muscles and the fascia and the ligaments all around the eyes, particularly if you're on screen a lot or on your phone a lot, is just bring your fingers in front and you just focus on each of your index fingers there, and then you take them to the side. So you just create that opening up of the perspective and you keep focusing on the fingers. So keep keeping the fingers in your vision. And that's a nice one just for really opening up the perspective. And then you can give your arms a shake. Let's give the body a good shake. Have a good shake around. Shaking out the shoulders. Shaking out the wrists. Tapping the heels into the ground. It's a bit of cleansing and clearing. So we're taking a breath in. And letting go. Taking a breath in. I'm only doing this to warm up because I forgot to put the heating on in here this morning and it's freezing. Let's do another shape. Breathing in. And let go. And slowing it down, slowing it down, slowing it down, slowing it down. Opening up the palms, up the shoulders. Feeling the tingling sensation. Always good to have a little reminder of biomechanics, the biomechanics of breathing. So we're just going to have a little focus on different areas where, with some of these movements, we've created that space for the breath. So I'm just going to ask you if you just place your hands on the ribs. So you've got on the real lower ribs down there, you've got your hands just resting on the ribs, you've got your thumbs in the back. Thumbs in the back of the ribs. And we're going to just take slightly fuller breaths, slower breaths, deliberate breaths, just to expand the rib cage here. So as you're breathing in, feel those lower ribs moving out to the sides, lifting a little bit, moving out to the back. Really feel the breath into the back of the ribs as well. And then as we're breathing out, you can almost like squeeze the ribs. So just deliberately create a little bit more space there by taking a fuller breath, a slower breath. It's not massive movement, but you should be able to feel some movement there. Remember breathing into the back as well. Just fuller breaths, deliberately fuller breaths, just so we can really feel the movement there in the lower ribs. Follow 2 more breaths. And then take a rest. So the idea with that is we're just focusing specifically on the lower ribs. So we want to keep the shoulders relaxed, the chest relaxed. We don't want to be holding tension here, but we just want to be feeling that expansion, expanding as we're breathing, that contraction as we breathe out. Particularly sort of like 3-dimensional. It's not all in the belly, it's not just all in the back. You want to feel it expanding and contracting around the whole middle point there. Let's go a little bit lower down. So this is when I'm focusing, when I really highlight, this is your true deep breath. It's not about the volume of air that you breathe, it's about the response you feel deep in the body. So we're going to take our fingers 3 finger widths down from your belly button. Go a little bit lower than the belly button. We put our fingers together like that. We're just going to put a little bit of pressure there. If this feels uncomfortable for you, don't do it, because it is an acupressure point. But if you're comfortable with this, you can put that little bit of pressure low down. And then again, slightly fuller breaths, calm, full breaths, just to exaggerate how this area responds to the inhale and the exhale. And if you keep the pressure on this point, feel how the area here, sort of like around about your sacrum into the lower back, feel how that area responds. Can you feel very subtle movement in that area? When I was doing the Oxygen Advantage training in Spain, I can't remember if I mentioned to you, but we had a yoga teacher from Canada and a pelvic floor specialist, and she was like, brilliant, we're talking about the pelvic floor and about how that reacts and responds to the diaphragm. It's often so tight here that we don't feel anything. But as we breathe in, we want to feel that subtle, what we call eccentric contraction. So it's almost like you're breathing into the hips. In fact, put your hands on the hips as well. Now you're going to get very little movement here, but I just want you to visualize or imagine, just as you were getting movement here, that you're getting some movement that like almost like the hips and the back are expanding as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, and if you do it very subtly, and this is so subtle because I don't want lots of pelvic tilts going on here, just think what we did when we did spinal cord. As we're breathing in, we did a big movement, we tilted the pelvis so we were spilling out the front. As we breathed out, we tuck in the pelvis underneath. I want you to feel almost like a minute micro movement as you're breathing in. There's that very subtle micro movement. I'm not moving it. I'm not trying to move my pelvis. Micro movement as you breathe in and micro movement as you breathe out. I mean, this is so subtle. So please don't go walking around breathing in and breathing out like this all day long, or running, breathing in and out like that all day long. It's just, what we don't want to be doing is holding tension where we don't need to hold that tension. And then one final point, because what I don't want to do is just bring all the breath down here, because then what can often happen is we tighten up here. So I just want you to place one hand on the heart center, one hand on the chest. And it's quite nice actually to put the other hand on the back, do you know, like we're doing knocking, rather than on the belly. You can put it on the belly, but then we bring all the focus to the front of the body. If you put one hand on the back, just breathing now, feel how this area responds, because there is a very subtle movement again when you're taking a light breath. If we take a bigger breath, we need the space in the chest. So I know we focus on breathing light and not over breathing, but you don't want to tighten everything up here, which is I've often seen. Again, we can be tight down here, we can be tight up here. And me as well, I'm not just saying other people, I find that a lot, that I can be tight down here, tight up here. So when Barbara Pigeon did one of the Lunch and Learn, she talked about breathing into the heart, and I think that's a really nice way of focusing. Again, I'm not pulling breath in, but I'm just feeling that very subtle expansion, breathing into the heart center. It is pouring down with rain here. Pouring, pouring, pouring. I've got to go out and get wet. Breathing into the heart. Feel that very subtle movement. Can you feel in the back? I quite like my hand on the back here because it brings that focus to the back of the body as well. So you're almost like getting that spine wave as you breathe in. Very much like spinal cord breathing, but micro movement, so that everything doesn't just become locked. Let's follow a few more breaths. And then take a rest. It's important that we do this check-in from time to time with ourselves and also as a group with these subtle movements. It's very easy for me to show you these big movements, and we do all of this movement and you can all follow along the movement. But just taking your time just to notice the subtle movements within the body, particularly how areas respond to the breath. Rather than do some seated breath work actually, because we've spent a little bit longer time on that and we had that internet issue in the middle, we're going to do some more activating of the breath. So remember, when we breathe in, diaphragm flattens down. That's why you can feel that expansion here. That's why you can feel the intra-abdominal pressure. Sorry, we're not doing seated breathing, so Tom's just sat down. I said rather than do seated breathing, because we've only got 3 minutes left. As we breathe in, diaphragm moves down. As we breathe out, that diaphragm comes back up. Now, quite often, we're not getting that diaphragm to come back up. So we're going to do some active exhales to help bring that diaphragm back up into the chest cavity. Also, what happens when we breathe out is the pelvic floor doesn't tighten. We don't want to pull that pelvic floor up, but there's that subtle, very light engagement, contraction of the pelvic floor. So I want you to have in mind that as we're doing some exhales, we're bringing the diaphragm up and the pelvic floor up. So you're doing this type of movement. As you breathe in, it's coming down. As you can breathe in out, it's coming up. So we get in this sort of like pump-like effect. So we're going to do some breath of fire or water buffalo breath. You can rest on your thighs with the hands. Make sure you've not got your hands pushed on the knees here, and I'm not putting all the weight down there, I'm just resting there. Or we can go a little bit lower and rest your forearms on your thighs. Make sure you're freeing up here. Or we can just go low and dangle down. Now here, all the time you are lifting the chest. So I can look over there, I can look over there. I'm not down here. So it's not about forcing the position, it's finding a comfortable position. So here, chest facing forwards, here, chest facing forwards, or just letting the arms relax and chest facing forwards. And then we're going to do 10 quick fire breaths. So that's deliberately exhaling. Make sure it's coming from down here, not the throat. So we're going throat, that's throat. I can really feel it in my throat. It's coming down from all of those areas we've just worked on in the belly there. So 10 quick fire breaths. Take a breath in and go. And then just let the breath settle. I can feel my legs working already. Let's do another 10 quick fire breaths. Breath in. So you're really feeling the diaphragm pulling back in, pelvic floor pulling up a little bit, legs aching. Let's do one more 10. Full breath in. And then slow it down, let the breath settle, slowly push the floor away. Oh, my legs are aching this morning, jeez, breathing in and breathing out. And then just interlocking the thumbs, resting on the lower belly, just a moment of bamboo in the wind. So bringing the feet together. Closing your eyes, and then just really letting that breath settle. Feeling all that space we've just created for the breath. And then taking a calm, full breath in through the nose. Stepping out, giving yourself a little bit of a brush down. Excellent. Some few things to think about. Just bring awareness to this area. Just checking every now and then, thinking about how that area responds, that idea of a true deep breath. Deep doesn't necessarily mean big. So key in terms of when we're thinking about our calming of the nervous system, our balancing of the nervous system. Apologies for that little internet glitch in the middle of the session there. Hopefully it didn't affect your enjoyment. I will see you on Wednesday for a little bit more movement. So thanks very much for joining. Have a good rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye.